This is not a tech review channel. This is a channel where we talk in depth about quality of sound because we talk about classical music. So I want to raise a very important question. It's a question where aesthetics goes up against convenience and the reality of life. What's the place of a noise cancelling headphone in the life of a professional classical musician or somebody who is more or less that in terms of their needs? So let's frame this really clearly. We're going to talk about the general aesthetic predicament that this question raises, but we're also going to talk about one or two particular devices, including the latest stuff that Bose has come up with, which is not that good, actually, to be honest. So let's get in there. First of all, this is not a conversation about quality of sound. The technology out there today is that the second best noise cancelling headphones in the world, the Bose 700s, and the best are the Apple AirPods Max. These headphones are going to be obliterated in sound quality by a cheap and entry sort of level decent headphone. I mean, this is the 560S from Sennheiser. It will totally obliterate at a third of the price, sometimes at a quarter of the price, any high-end noise cancelling headphone. So what's the point of having one then? Well, the point is obvious. You have important needs around your hearing if you're a classical musician. Let's keep it to that. If you're a classical musician, you have important needs around your hearing that are not to do with quality of sound. So what are they? Let's start. The first need, certainly that I have, is a need for quiet. I live in London, and if the pandemic weren't going on, I would sometimes use the Bakerloo Underground line because of the kind of relationship I have with music and the kind of relationship I have with the jump from silence to sound and back to silence again. I find the Bakerloo line torturous. It's the oldest underground line in the UK, in London, and it's far too noisy. I just can't be on it without a noise cancelling headphone. And so a noise cancelling headphone is for me a prerequisite of engaging in certain activities outside, traveling. So we're not just talking about the potential of plane travel. Even in everyday city life, somebody with a certain level of sensitivity, it seems to me, has to have in their arsenal a noise cancelling headphone unless they go for earplugs, which is always an option, and this can be the cheapest option. And if that's your option, this video is irrelevant. But this is one area of need, to reduce the sound and to have a little bit more quiet. Now, there is a second area of need that's a sort of a sibling of the first. And that's that it's not just that your hearing might be highly sensitive and highly sensitized if you're for example, a classical musician. You could be another kind of musician and have just as sensitive a hearing. But there's something else. There's a chance that you might have perfect or absolute pitch. And there's a chance that your absolute pitch might be pretty absolute. Now, what does that mean? It's sometimes a myth that that's an indication of some kind of great musical talent. It's not. A lot of the greatest musicians don't have it. And having it is, as someone who does have it, I mean, it's not clearly a musical advantage on balance. And it's certainly a disadvantage in terms of going through life, because what happens is that every damn thing that occurs around you, that's a sound, that's a noise, your brain automatically tries to convert it into a note and announces the name of the note to you out loud, as though, the world was speaking to you. So, when somebody, knocks something into the wall next door, hanging up a painting, I would experience that at particular pitches. When there's construction work going on or when the air conditioner is going on, my brain will try to make that into pitches. And the problem with that is that It's like the difference between hearing just a general sort of hum of noise versus hearing something like conversation. You see, if notes are announcing themselves to you, it's like hearing a conversation. Hearing conversation around you is much more distracting than just hearing a background of noise. So it creates a kind of hyperacusis-like situation. So that's another reason why you need to protect yourself from all of this noise around you. And I suppose there is a sort of third kind of medical reason, is that you simply want to protect your hearing. Now, so that's what goes in favor of noise cancelling headphones. The one thing that goes against them, apart from their terrible sound quality, is that there can sometimes be an experience of pressure, an experience of a kind of ear suck quality, which some headphones do more than others, and you might want to pick your headphones on the basis of that. So what are my personal needs when I pick my noise cancelling headphones? My personal needs are that the sound should be relatively bearable and inoffensive. It doesn't need to be healthy, it doesn't need to be warm, it doesn't need to be clear, it doesn't need to be properly spaced. It just needs to be not too terribly offensive, and it shouldn't have too many unbelievable technical flaws in it. That's enough to get me going. Above that, I want quite a strong noise cancellation, and I want comfort. So what's been the range historically that's dominated this market? Well, it's a range by a company that we all know about, that people generally dislike if they're audiophiles or classical musicians, and that's Bose, because people mock Bose for their poor quality of sound. But Bose have dominated historically the noise cancelling market. So let's have a look at where we're at with Bose today. So a few years back, we were on these, and I think these must be the QC 25s or 15, something like that. Then a few years back, we had the QC 35s, and then we got the QC 35 Mark II. And something important happened about a year ago. Bose brought out these. This is the 700s. Now, if you're not buying either the sort of Sony sibling of these headphones or the AirPods Max, you're basically going to be not far from being stuck with these as your option. So are these headphones a good option? Well, let me tell you from my personal experience of experimenting, unfortunately they're not. I really wanted to like them for utility, but I don't. So here is what's good about them. Noise cancelling. The noise cancelling is easily the best on any headphone on the market except for the Apple AirPods Max, which I haven't got with me at the moment. So the bad news is that nearly everything else is bad except for one thing: calls in extremely noisy environments. These are better than the AirPods Max, and better probably than any headphone that I'm aware of on the market in terms of calls in noisy environments. Now, how do calls work on these in quiet environments? I would actually say badly. So every word comes out a bit more clearly than on the microphone of these. You can hear these tests all over YouTube, so I won't run one for you. The words come out more clearly than on the QC35s, but they sound more robotic and artificial when you're speaking in a quiet environment. So now let's get on to why I recommend you to not buy these, even at the reduced price, even secondhand, unless your specific needs are calls in a noisy environment, plus the best noise cancellation short of spending a lot of money. I mean, you can probably pick these up for around $300, whereas you're going to pay double that for the Apple AirPods Max, roughly $550. So what's wrong with these? Less importantly than their biggest flaw, is the fact that they are pretty comfortable. So what's wrong with pretty comfortable? What's wrong with pretty comfortable is that that's not good enough, given that you're looking for comfort from this product. So what's the problem? It's subjective. It depends on your personal sort of physical experience in them. But this could cause some pressure in a way that the previous generation won't. The previous generation is just so much more pliant, so much more easeful. These are, I think, the most comfortable headphones I have ever worn, that are noise cancelling headphones of some standard. They're just supremely comfortable. You can sort of live in them. Now, these are fairly comfortable, but they're not as comfortable, and you wouldn't necessarily be as comfortable living in them. There is also this issue, which is that if you're traveling and you want to rest your head left or right, this sort of gap will create a problem for you. But let's get to the real issue here. I find the sound on these physically unbearable. So what's wrong with the sound on these is that it's a little bit artificial in the bass. It's a little bit mediocre quality everywhere else, but there's nothing glaringly offensively wrong with the sound here. I mean, it won't be sort of destructive of your ears. You'll be able to hear a podcast in this, or even if, needs must, listen to a piece of music and be all right with it. There is a spike here, in my opinion, somewhere in the treble or in the upper mids, and the spike creates a rigid, a sort of brittle sound that is potentially not a physical danger to your ears unless you play it too loudly, but certainly it's an aesthetic danger. I find that there's something really, really wrong with these headphones in terms of the treble, and it bothers me quite a bit. It's a sort of a spike, and it creates a very, very brittle and slightly dangerously kind of sound. It's not good. It's not good. And so therefore I find them simply for that reason unacceptable. The rest of the sound here is sort of more robotic sounding, actually. There's a sort of artificiality to the sound here than what you get on these. So I think this is a much better product. Unfortunately, though, there's a massive gap in the quality of the noise cancelling between the two. The noise cancelling on these is better. I haven't followed up the story about a particular update about 1.5 years ago on these reducing the quality of the noise cancelling. I don't know where we're up to with that, whether that problem has been fixed. But nevertheless, these headphones, they are just, in my opinion, flawed. And so somebody with a very, very sound relationship with sound is going to struggle with them. I do, however, think that commercially these might still work well, because what I've described as a sort of a dangerous, brittle spike to most people might sound like clarity of sound. So there we go. Now, what does this mean for me? This means that I might wait for the next generation of the Apple AirPods Max. Maybe they'll release a smaller sports version, and I will consider those. At the moment, I'm personally staying away from the Apple product because of weight and convenience. So the AirPods Max weigh something like 300 plus grams. These weigh something like 200 plus grams. There's a very significant difference, and you feel it, and just the sheer comfort, the sheer sort of possibility to not really experience these as an object that's even on you. You can sort of just like, you can just do whatever you want with them, and they're not gonna break, and they're gonna make you happy. So that's how I'm gonna play it, and I might upgrade on these as soon as Apple offers something else. Of course, it's possible that Bose, eventually bring out their next generation of headphones and sort of, override this sort of disaster, in my opinion, but you never know. So this is where we're at. It's a flawed market. I mean, the Drop Panda are going to be the best Bluetooth headphones probably, but they're not noise cancelling. So the noise cancelling Bluetooth market is at the moment just not a market that can provide you an exceptional product. It's a disappointing market. The only way you're going to be impressed with it is if you're going to be impressed with the AirPods Max, but they have their own issues. We might talk about that another time. And they might have the best sound of all noise cancelling headphones, but the sound is also described by a lot of people who think about sound, who feel sound as being a bit soulless. So we're going to have to wait and see. And this is a very conservative conclusion. I'm sticking with these things for the next few months, if not a year or two. Thanks for watching, and tell me your experience with this problem of how to noise cancel yourself while you are sensitive to aesthetically bearable sound.